we're gonna make some suggestions as to the new CEO of Twitter using the expert generator right now. And using settings 20 BC. We'll see what happens.
Before you stands an expert generator of your own invention. With it, you can call forth an expert in any field, any skill, any lived experience, living or dead, real or fictional, grandiose or petty as fuck.
Recycling.
And once you loaded up your request, 3 potential experts are presented to you. After reading each of their bios, you choose the one that most fits your situation, with room to regenerate if necessary. You begin to type your inquiry. Hello. I would like to speak to expert in human resources and hiring processes. I would like to do a little bit of hiring work on behalf of Twitter and have a chat about what makes for the best traits of a CEO for a company that is all about the public commons, using cordial dialogue and social media in light of all the controversies and effect on mental wellness in the negative for humans. This expert has lived experience with social media from the very beginning, has formal training in computer science and populational dynamics, and also interpersonal neurobiological systems that are at play in social media, and they play with generative AI as a way of figuring out solutions that are most appropriate to the group mind that is forming within human society. The expert generator, having received your request, whirs and blinks in capitals, and on ticker tape is printed out 3 potential names and their brief bios for you to choose. 1. Dr. Richard Littleton bios. Dr. Richard Littleton is a professor of humanities and social sciences at University College London. He holds degrees from Oxford and Harvard universities, where he studied philosophy and cognitive science before going into academia. His research interests include artificial intelligence, evolutionary psychology, memetics, cultural evolution, and digital activism. He's written several books including Memes in Digital Culture, The Evolution of the Internet, and Memetics, The New Science of Subculture. He was recently awarded a prestigious Royal Society Wolfson Research Merit Award for his contribution to our understanding of how ideas spread through culture. 2. Professor Alyssa Lorenzo Gomez bios. Professor Alyssa Lorenzo Gomez is a professor of computer science at Stanford University. She earned her PhD in computer science from the University of California, Berkeley. Her current research focuses on computational models of memory and decision-making, machine learning algorithms, natural language processing, and knowledge representation. She served as program co-chair for the International Joint Conference on Artificial Intelligence (ACI) in 2020. She previously held faculty positions at Cornell University, at Berkeley, and NUM. Professor Lorenzo Gomez is currently serving as associate editor for the Association for Computational Linguistics and serves on the editorial boards of ACCOM Transactions on Interactive Intelligence Systems, Journal of Machine Learning Research, and Knowledge and Information Systems. 3. Dr. Jessica Rivas bios. Dr. Jessica Rivas is an assistant professor of organizational behavior at the Kellogg School of Management at Northwestern University. She earned her PhD in organizational behavior at the MIT Sloan School of Management. Her areas of expertise include leadership development, diversity management, negotiation, and conflict resolution. Before joining Northwestern, she spent 2 years as assistant professor at the Wharton School of Business. She is the recipient of numerous awards and honors, such as being named to Fortune magazine's 40 Under 40 list and receiving the Dean's Medal for Exceptional Achievement from the Kellogg School of Management. She is also a member of the American Psychological Association's Division 7, which is responsible for ethical standards in psychological practice.
They are all. These are all. Wait. No, you pick none of them. They're all strong candidates. So you decide to make the generator, feed all 3 people into a Vitamix blender and pulverize them into one single being through hyperdimensional hyper vectors. Their qualities multiply into one very expert whose name is, there we go.
They are all strong candidates, so you decide to make generator feed all 3 people into a Vitamix blender and pulverize them into one single being through hyperdimensional vectors. Their qualities multiply into one very expert force of nature, whose name is. Hi there, says the expert. I'm here to help. You thank him profusely. You're grateful that this person exists and will be able to guide you through these uncharted waters. Your anxiety levels drop by over 80%. You feel better already. So tell me more about your project, asks the expert.
We at Twitter need a CEO like yesterday, which was always Elon Musk's mantra, and an impossible one at that. But we have managed to narrow it down to an essential 50. Now, how would you go about picking a final 3? Oh, well, at least I spoke it into existence.
What kind of skills should we look for? How does someone become a leader who can lead us forward when everyone else is trying to hold back? can't say much without revealing too much, but let me give you some examples. You ask the expert for specific advice on how to hire the right CEO, and then explain the challenges you've faced thus far. Well, first off, begins the expert, you want to find somebody with charisma. It doesn't matter if they're male or female. They just have to be charismatic. They don't even necessarily have to be good looking, although that helps. Just needs to exude presence. That's why I think Elon Musk works well as a CEO, because he has that whole I am Iron Man vibe. Also, he seems like a nice guy. But really, anyone could do it as long as they have that aura of confidence around them. If they seem like they know what they're doing, that's half the battle won. Then you'll see that they have vision and that they understand the big picture and that they have the ability to inspire others to follow along with them. And that last part is crucial. You need to get buy-in from employees or they aren't going to execute on your vision. So if they have that spark, that charisma, and they have the capacity to inspire others to join their cause, then they're probably a pretty decent candidate. What about technical acumen? You ask. Also, what if they have a confidence that doesn't yield results? In fact, it yields the opposite, replies the expert. That's not great either. I mean, I guess technically speaking, that might actually be a good thing. Like maybe they're super confident that they're right no matter what, and they refuse to admit any flaws in their logic. Or maybe they believe that they're infallible and that nothing bad ever happens to them, and therefore they never learn anything. Maybe they try to convince themselves that everything is fine and that they don't need to change, even though everybody else knows that something has got to give. Either way, I wouldn't trust that shit. Those kinds of people tend to end up in cults, and those things only work until the day they inevitably implode. I'd stay away from those types unless you like watching people burn alive while you laugh hysterically at their pain. Because, honestly, that's usually the outcome of a cult. Now, another important quality is adaptability. People who are willing to roll with whatever punches life throws at them and still manage to come out on top. For example, imagine a scenario where Twitter has to pivot quickly due to changes in the market, or government regulations, or political climate. Imagine that they had to start selling ads against content instead of showing users sponsored posts. Wouldn't you rather have a CEO who's been through a few pivots before? Someone who understands that sometimes you have to compromise on certain values to achieve other goals. These sorts of people are hard to come by, but they exist. And again, having a track record of success under pressure goes a long way toward proving that they're capable of adapting to new situations. And finally, you need someone who is self-aware, not in a narcissistic way, but in a sense of being aware of their own limitations,
Yes.
both personally and professionally. There's a difference between being humble and being a doormat. Sure, humility is awesome, but arrogance isn't. A good CEO is cognizant of their strengths and weaknesses and uses that information to build a team that complements each other. They recognize their blind spots and compensate for them. They take criticism constructively and use it as fuel to improve. They acknowledge when they screw up and apologize. And most importantly, they realize that nobody is perfect and that mistakes happen. Mistakes are inevitable. The key is learning from them and moving past them. So, yeah, any of those qualities would be a plus. But as you can see, they're all interconnected. Which brings us to the next question. Who's the best fit for the job? I don't know, man. The expert responds. I'm not sure anybody fits the bill perfectly. But you said you narrowed it down to 50, so you must have a list of potential candidates. What are the characteristics of the ones at the top of the list? Well, the best candidates are the ones who are the most qualified for the role. Of course, they've worked in the industry for a number of years, so they know the ins and outs of the business. They've led teams before and they've built successful products. They're experienced and they're smart. They're driven and ambitious and they're passionate about the company and its mission. They're also decisive, and decisive leaders almost always win out over the wishy-washy type. But more than anything, you continue, they're trustworthy, they're honest and transparent, and they communicate clearly and openly. They're also empathetic and compassionate. They care about their employees and their customers, and they're dedicated to building a better world for everyone. They put the greater good before personal gain, and they genuinely want to make a positive impact on society. They're also good communicators. They can express their ideas and thoughts eloquently, and they're able to persuade and influence others. 100 lines about 50 CEO applicants. Martha Samuels is a mensch. She likes golf. Very cutthroat. She has a castle in Scotland, but drained the moat. Jimmy Norris is a jock. He's a total goofball. He's a bit of a dork, but he's a solid dude. Karen Kim is a kook. She's quirky and strange. She's a real party animal, but she's a friend. Todd Hochstead is a Taurus. He's a plodder. He's a stickler for the rules, but a good sport. Linda Jones is a lion. She's fierce and bold. She's a fighter, a survivor, and a boss. Cindy Chang is a Cinderella. She's a dream. She's an artist, a free spirit, and a hippie. Lisa Lee is a Libra. She's a scholar. She's a bookworm, a brainiac, and a nerd. Eugene Kowalski is a Gemini, a go-getter. He's a hustler, a schemer, and a flirt. Sandra Chung, he's a Sagittarius. She's a daredevil. She's a rebel, a rule breaker, and a fear cracker. Rachel Lai is a Leo. She's a leader. She's a visionary, a risk taker, and a queen. Chelsea Giles is a Cancer. She's a nurturer. She's a healer, an empath, and she loves kids. Holly O'Connor is a Virgo. She's a perfectionist. She's a straight shooter. She'll tell it like it is. Jennifer Liu is a Libra, a diplomat. She's a peacemaker, a negotiator, and a spy. Travis Young is a Scorpio. He's a loner. He's a maverick. He's a lone wolf and a bro. Alexis Chang is an Aquarius, a philosopher. She's a futurist, a trendsetter, and a muse. Christina Wonk is a Pisces, a dreamer. She's a poet, a mystic, and a space cadet. Sarah Yu is a Capricorn, a pragmatist. She's a hard worker and a no-nonsense gal. Jenna Ritter is a Sagittarius, a truth seeker. She's a crusader, a revolutionary and searcher. Laura Winfield is a Taurus, a go-getter. She's a planner, a goal-setter, and a do-gooder. Amanda Lee is a Leo, a visionary. She's a leader, a motivator, and a star. So you've got a bunch of criteria to consider, but you're not really sure which ones are the most important. What should you prioritize? Asks the expert. Well, I think we need someone who is strong and confident. Someone who can inspire others to follow along with them. And ideally, they'd have a track record of success and they wouldn't shy away from challenges.
Now let's do a little higher temperature, a little raise the stakes. See what happens. Let's go all the way. 186. Lucky daughters.
Laura Winfield is a Taurus, a go-getter. She's a planner, a goal-setter, and a do-gooder. Amanda Lee is a Leo, a visionary. She's a leader, a motivator, and a star. Urkel Miniowi is a session, an outlier. He's an explorer, a researcher, and an activist. Gabrielle Chan is a Borealan, an isolate. She's a loner, a scavenger, and a pacifist. William Stone is a Balvan. He's a rustic. He's a survivalist, a macho guy, and he's bold. Michael Bernstein is an MP1, a dinosaur. He's a warrior. He's brave and bold, but a loser. Hugh Fengla is a Borean. He's a spirit trapper. He's an MC. He raps for kicks, and he's fun. Chris Kosnick is an Estalian. He's a ballroom kid. He's a dancer. He's fabulous. And he's been blessed. Thaigo Wolves is in Britain. He's a jet setter. He's an adventurer, a daredevil, and a spender. Kate Hoskins is a Baidoon. She's a civilian. She's a wholesome beauty, and she has a bright future. Roy Cooper is an other. He's a nervous Nelly. He's a recluse, an introvert, and a genius. Lam Kamhing is a Lydian, a starfighter. He's an explorer, a space buff, and his combat's insane. Jacqueline Quinones is an Araxi, an exotic. She's a vixen, a badass, and her colors are nice. Sam Rovingen has crabs. She's a slut. She's a cutthroat, a barracuda, and she's deadly. Brian Summers is a Zeratin. He's a beast. He's a predator, but not aggressive at all. Jeremy Valkarsel is a Malosi, a party animal. He's an instigator, a thrill seeker, and a renegade. Again, priorities. This time, concentrate on those factors which have the biggest impact on your hiring decision. Now that you're paying a lot more attention to the particulars, is it harder to find a good fit, or is there no difference now? The fit still isn't quite perfect, you admit. But I'm starting to realize that there are people out there who are not only capable of fitting all those criteria, but they may even be better suited to the role than myself. Unfortunately, it's way too late in the recruiting process for me to do much about it now. Well then, don't waste your time pondering the past. Think about where you're in the future. Would it surprise you to discover that there were many more possible CEO candidates available right now?
Mm-hmm.
Have you considered the idea that there might still be a chance for you? You haven't stopped working hard during these 2 weeks, and the stress is slowly starting to wear you down, but you persevere. There was always the possibility that there were more qualified candidates out there. I doubt they'd really want the job anyway. I know my personality doesn't align well with mine. Laura Ingalls has a greasy face. She eats all her food raw and she can fart it back up again. She'll slather your mommy, your brother, and his best friend with sour cream and onion dip before feeding them to their dog. She's not fit to be called mommy, and neither is Rachel either. Holly O'Connor is a Virgo. She's a perfectionist. She's a straight shooter. She'll tell it like it is. Maya Yejin has an appetite for meat. She's a cannibal. She loves eating dead body parts and sometimes prefers human gore. Sue My Choi has an obsession with death. She's a gorehound. She'll drink poison booze from people's dark side collections. Timothy Sinclair is a Scorpio. He's a loner. He's a maverick. He's a lone wolf and a bro. Natasha Finley is an Aries, an animal lover. She loves spending her spare time in the jungle, scaring children with big fangs. Tan Nguyen is a Pisces. He's an intellectual. He's an artsy type who needs a lot of hugs and cuddles. Karen Basu is a Scorpio. She's a freak. She's a control freak, an insecure jerk, and an airhead. Jessie Weatherby is a Libra, a diplomat. She's a peacemaker, a negotiator, and a spy. Molly GPT-4 is a Leo, a leader. She's a visionary, a risk taker, and a queen. Brian Ziziewski is an Aquarius, an intellectual. He's a futurist, a trendsetter, and a muse. Jackson Hayes is a sadist, a crook. He's a master of the con, the schemes, and the quick. Luke Horvath is a Spinosaurus, a slowpoke. He's a recluse, an introvert, and a genius. Susan Fontaine is a session, an outlier. She's a loner, a scavenger, and a pacifist. David Wuzambi-1, a dinosaur. He's a warrior. He's brave and bold, but a loser. Kaiser Soze is a mastermind, a gimp. He's a scam artist, and the lowest kind of human there is. Homer Key is a Borealan, a care. He's a doting father, and he's best to get away from when he starts acting all grumpy. Reuben Martin is a Bulvan. He's a spirit trapper. He's an MC. He raps for kicks, and he's fun. Steve Allen is an Earther. He's a nervous Nelly. He's a recluse, an introvert, and a genius. Xenia Littlewood is a stallion. She's a ballroom kid. She's a dancer. She's fabulous. And she's been blessed. Simone Lawler's and written. She's a jet setter. She's an adventurer, a daredevil, and she has the time of her life. Alexis Stewart is a Virgo. She's a perfectionist. She's a straight shooter. She'll tell it like it is. Carolyn Liu is a Libra, a diplomat. She's a peacemaker, a negotiator, and a spy. Kaylee Blade is a Leo. She's a leader. She's a visionary, a risk taker, and she's an advisor. Celine Santham is a Lydian, a starfighter. She's an explorer, a space buff, and she's aggro-af. Matta Hoople takes 5 ents. He's a conspiracy theorist. He's an anarchist, a commie, and he hates robots. Jonathan Myers is a Baidoon. He's a civilian. He's a wholesome beauty, and he has a bright future. Vanessa Lorius is a written. She's a jet setter. She's an adventurer, a daredevil, and a spender. Heidi Smith is a kobold, a blonde Beatrice. She's a virgin, a lewd hoe, and her pants are too tight. Thomas Wingfield is a human, a Sikisher man. He's a flyboy, a hawk, and his underwear smells like corn. Gabby Chen is a Zaratan. He's a beast. He's a predator, but not aggressive at all. Neil Ross is a human, a freak. He's a loner. He doesn't mind being alone with just his dog. Makoto Sato is a Vadianoi, a marsh girl. She loves being around water, sometimes too much for her own good. Norman Bright is a Yupai. He's a cosmopolitan. He's an astronaut, but only cosmonauts really get him. Dayton Albright is an Booga. He's an icebox. He's a strict commander, a killjoy, and always correct. Chris Oz is a newbie, a twerk chicken. He's a troublemaker, a fart cloud, and a giant butthead. Nicole Herbig is a Masawari. She's an android. She's a sex bot, a pleasure doll, and her cleavage is brand. Red Bradley is an uncute and he's an assassin. He's a gun nut, but never around the time of his jobs. Toshi Fujieda is a dryad, a sorceress. He's a freakish genius. He has magic mushrooms growing out his eyes. Rib Barch has crabs. She's a slut. She's a cutthroat, a barracuda, and she's deadly. Victoria Sakura is a Lydian, a starfighter. She's an explorer, a space buff, and she's a peacemaker. Blaine Whitestone is an earther, a spooky bro. He's a government man. His kind keep everything hushed up. Madeline Drake is a loomer, a steel shark. She's a barbaric fighter. She packs more meat than some animals. Paul Linden is an uncute one. He's an assassin. He's a gun nut, but never around the time of his jobs. Connor Sharp is an elf, an adventurer. He's a brave warrior who lost a family to monsters. Mikkel Schenk is an uncute one, an outlaw. He's an armed robber, so if you got his gold, you better run. Valerie Glass is a Casnor, a snow lady. She's a shapeshifter. She can transform herself into any species. Benita Thamavansa is a wanch. a computer nerd. She's a data streamer. She hacks anything she touches. Norman Buck is an Uyghur. He's a diasporous sea kid. He's a killer whale, the happiest animal in the ocean. Solano Baux is a twins. She's a mobster. She's a murderer, an escaped convict, and a psycho. Jared Jacobs is an Asperian, an orc. He's a goofy Jigat, but he also works for NASA. Charles Wright has a toothache. He's a fun guy. He's a great joke teller, a closet Goonies fan, and a cool dad. Jimmy Durant has a double vision. He's a sad soul. He's a greedy gambler, and his friends just ignore him now. Lem Meyer Lorick is unwritten, an asshole. He's an airheaded know-it-all. He never stops yapping. Alexander Jamerson is an Hedar. He's a music god. He's a drummer. He beats anything in sight with his drumsticks. Reese Channon is a necker. She's a slut.
Whoa.
She's a cutthroat. A barracuda. And she's deadly.
No, let's forget.
Jesus Perez is a Vodianoi. A marsh girl. She loves being around water. Sometimes too much for her own good. Marcus Sabato is an elf. A kingpin. He's a grand wizard, but secretly he wants to be a taxi driver. Gail Starling has a slight asthma attack. She's a flame wielder. She's a warrior, and a big admirer of Spider-Man's artistry. Angelica Dupree is a Krellin, an ambassador. She's an accomplished diplomat, a mover and a shaker. Viola Groff is a Baidoon, a pilot. She's an engineer. She can design the perfect space suits. Christine Bennett is an Algestos. She's a psychic. She's an astute witch. She can see your dark side coming. You can't decide. So you clean the Vitamix and add all 50 applicants and then some. Then together, the CEO smoothie that results is John. I honestly don't know which is worse, not getting any of them or all of them. This is a test, though, and every test has winners and losers, right? The girls at the daycare gave me these cute little name tags when we dropped Molly off today. If this is true love, why do they have my name on them? Ah, screw it. Here's our special entry in the Mo Harris School of Dating. Hope you're ready. Here it comes. Mo, Principal Mama, Community College, for the children and beyond. You feel sick just thinking about what's next. You stare down at your screen again. 45 minutes left in your deadline, and your new single player, Chameleon, still hasn't gone viral. Despite getting 6,000 listens in just 7 hours, no one seems interested enough in Mo's comeback to pay for a premium stream. 1 week, 8 days to go on your countdown timer. 50 hours, only 33 more to go. But if you're hoping for the wave of hate to end after tonight, well, think again, bud. As you let out a weary sigh, a small red light flashes in the corner of your eyes as you watch your app rearrange itself and redistribute itself on screen. Suddenly, another one of your players who appears to be completely disconnected from all social networks with no name beside the one he has chosen is talking to you about flipping off your avatar as soon as his face appeared. What the? Before you can say anything, You begin receiving all kinds of messages, the most notable of which you feel is being the death threat a fan named Almighty Bob just sent you to cap off the night. Just as you finally sign out from that connection, your phone rings and that F seeking cat you used to communicate with your coworker at that microchip plant shows up. Hello, my little Alice, my dear sweet girl. The fire she started, just how many lives were changed. Of course, I expect the usual verbal abuse for one, and perhaps even threats of death should another attempt at exploitation get by. So come now, darling, share a nice cup with your mother. We have things we need to discuss. Whoa, wait a minute. Is that a pun in there? Come on! Really? You flip over the pages and suddenly an offer comes before your very eyes to design a special multiplayer mode in exchange for only 4 more tokens. Who could ever turn that down? You shove back down the glowing energy pill into the center of the board. Maybe, just maybe, it isn't impossible for you to reconnect with this mania. Maybe the bloodbath in Gone South wasn't inevitable after all, and despite all these early failures, your desperation won't show its ugly face to everyone. Thank God you got in. Come meet me in person next time. You're texted. Your mouse clicks on the space on your own user. There is just enough space now that you don't have to shuffle your starting players. Now it is your time. Now, just get them on this one right. Wait a moment. You write on your whiteboard. You've thought of something. You flop forward over the armrest of your desk. With a frantic fist smashing upon your keyboard, you give God your personal blessing for only needing 15,000 streams. And that's just this time. Right now. Go! Go! Go. You crank out more chugs of Johnny Walker Black, throw more sweat upon your face and shoulders as the thumping techno in the background fills you with an unparalleled feeling. This is for all the FP's games, every JRPG, the castles and sea witches and lost forests, everything we created. And lovingly bound together, all coming together, for your devotion to them all, bringing that childhood love out of our hands to that. A random dungeon. The pitch doesn't ring a bell to you as you scroll through a map of random generated underground locations. When was the last time you really used a VR mode to play a game? A question asked and answered a couple days ago when you only spent about 12 hours on this damn VR mode trying to talk a shy girl out of giving you a real number. This will be so much better if she ever talks back. On this map of what can only be a terrible mess are a group of 11 players having a snowball fight. These adventures seem quite amateurish. An axe from behind gives your opponent an unintended reminder not to stick his head in too far in fear of it being cut off, so he complies. Though at first confused by why anyone would settle a disagreement by wasting resources, your jaw hits the floor once your eyes spot an expiring blue-collar worker suddenly experience his employer's reality via his Pip-Boy, gouged by your crafter directly through his recently added plump human lip. Someone should call this a capital offense for doing that. Still, do the player look any more violent? Because it doesn't even count unless you punch them in the mouth or fuck with their body. Good. Glad the latest update has balanced out the minions better now. I won't lose many points to it if all my targets go down due to death magic from 10 levels below. Mine? They didn't start fighting either. No way could those 3 be blamed for acting out their wildest fantasies yet. Not until they stared you right in the face without permission and snapped that foul rabbit at class. Skill leveling up, and spells are what define who you are within a world built of pure fiction. Isn't this just a wonderfully alive MMO? Sure, that girl has no idea how much work she put into you tonight. And two friends don't exactly get along since their divorces were filed only half an hour ago. But whatever happens outside this building can wait till later. Right now, it's all about focusing on staying alive and helping those in your group reach safety. And once you have killed everyone that you know they would disagree with on any fundamental point of law and ethics, it will only take 5 more minutes for your daily grind to become legendary. It's always that moment after a successful video game battle. Every VR MMO has been your biggest character customization experience. Now your player joins hundreds, perhaps thousands, in spite of its potential costs. Virtual lives aren't cheap to collect and replace, especially in MMOs where getting these life packets that matter most to you sometimes means the difference between moving ahead of others as a faction and fading into oblivion while letting your village slowly fizzle into a tombstone for you to pray at when you return home. Uninteresting. To stand in line behind the wealthier gamers is something you already prepared for back during high school days. Maybe that fat ass here drops a new $100 shield on you right when the fight is heating up because you bought some red runes when the CEO of Twitter has been chosen. Folks, meet the new CEO. Hugh. You have done well this week so far. Since you've finally chosen to fill an application and stand with us as your very own Tom Sawyer in your own parole show, these weekend marketing changes are gonna start the right away. Here's the good news, and here's where we glass half full. Folks, the two factions we already had between elite, executive, and business level players, you can now sit with the joke traders and conversely have to spend time with people on your own level of power.
Okay. That resolved? No. Okay, but taking a break.